Whosoever therefore shall humble himself as this little child, the same is greatest in the kingdom of heaven. And whoso shall receive one such little child in my name, receiveth me.
So several years ago, I went to Ecuador and served in an orphanage down there for several months. And I think it was the first time that I had really seen broken families so widespread. And it was really just eye-opening to me and devastating. But even more powerful than all kind of the heartbreak was more that these kids were just so sweet and they were so easy to love and they loved so easily. And they were so resilient, and it was so inspiring to me. And so when I got home, I realized that I needed to get involved in the United States. Several years later, just feeling like passions are not random, that was a prompting that I needed to kind of pursue and follow. And so I remember one day listening to the radio, and I heard an advertisement for CASA. CASA is court-appointed special advocates. And I decided I'm just gonna stop in, and I have no idea what I'm gonna say. I just went in and said, I just feel like I need to be here. I don't know what I can do, but I wanna be involved. So we've probably had about 14 different kids in our home over, I think, about a year and a half. And you know, there's over 450,000 children in the foster care system today. And I think that number, it's easy to just kind of be overwhelmed with the enormity of it, but I try, if you really think about that every number has a name and a face and a story, and it's a child with, you know, hopes and dreams and fears, and you just can't not be moved to action when you think of it that way. We've had so many kids in our home now, and they're just the sweetest. They're just normal kids. They just want to have fun, and they want to be loved, and they want to feel safe. There's so many different levels that you can contribute at. I would suggest Respite as a good starting place. So Respite is when you're caring for the foster child when the foster family has an emergency or goes on vacation or whatever. And so it's usually a shorter amount of time. So we've had 2 days to like 2 weeks. So for a traditional placement, there's really no exact time frame that they give you. Sometimes seeing these cases take a really long time, and so what you think might be short term can get longer simply because of the system, the court system and legalities. But with respite care, there is always a precise, because they're leaving, so you know it's going to be 2 weeks or it's going to be 4 days. But once you get in there, once you get into respite and you see these kids, you cannot not fall in love with them. And then you're like, okay, we can do foster care. Like, it's just this first step. It's intimidating, but I think there's so much potential for families to do so much and to be blessed. We've gained more than we have ever contributed to any child's life. So after you go through the training, you can be very specific about what you feel comfortable with, what you don't feel comfortable with. So you can select age range, gender, ethnicity. You can even say, I don't feel comfortable with this sort of trauma, or medical needs, I don't feel comfortable with this, or I do. So you have so much opportunity to say, specifically what fits right for your family. So National Angels is a nationwide nonprofit organization. So what they do is they believe in wrapping the community around the foster family. So they have programs set up where a Love Box program where you are matched with the foster family, and then monthly you can meet with the family and take them an activity or drop off diapers or bring them a little note. There's really no parameter as far as, and that's what I love about it too, the flexibility of saying, oh, this month is really crazy, you know, I'm gonna just drop by a little note, but next month, let's do a play date, you know? And I loved that. And I also loved the opportunity for my children to be involved. I think that at the core of why I'm doing this is absolutely my faith in Jesus Christ. I feel like this whole journey for me has been trying to be really prayerful and trying to just kind of be a very imperfect, humble instrument in his hands, because I came into this feeling very uneducated and very unaware of how it worked, but I knew that I was willing, and I knew that I had that prompting and that deep desire to do something. I think there are a lot of misconceptions about foster care. I had them myself. You know, it's easy to have these stereotypes, and you assume that the children will be this way or the biological parents will be one way. And so I think that there's this misconception that there's a lot of things that differentiate us from people in the foster care community, and I think that that's false. One experience that I'll never forget was with our first placement. We had two brothers that were young, 4 and 2, and I wanted to reach out to their biological mom somehow and let her know that we were there to support her, that we were advocating for her, that we believed in her. And so my caseworker suggested that I write her a letter. So I wrote her a letter and tried to just fill it with as much enthusiasm that I could, that she wouldn't, besides thinking that I was strange. But I wanted her just to know how much we were loving on her children, but fully supported her role as a mother. And a couple days later, I got a letter back from her, and it was 4 pages long. And it makes me emotional to think about, because it was so heartfelt. 4 pages of a mother's just undying love for her children, and how sorry she was, and how embarrassed she was, and how much she missed them, and how hard she was working to get them back. And I was so touched by that letter. I'll never forget it. And I just remember thinking in that moment that I wish I could hug her. All the things that seemed to separate us, or all of our differences, were completely irrelevant. And it was just 2 moms who would do anything for their children. Sometimes it is overwhelming, because you are stepping into things that are complicated, and things that are messy, and things that are sad, and things that are broken. And as I've thought about that and thinking about my Savior, Jesus Christ, and his life and his ministry, and he always was seeking out the people that were broken and the people that were messy and complicated, and that's where he focused his love.